I was thinking like it almost got made. It got made kind of out of desperation in a way, like creative frustration of not having a script. And we kept trying to make scripts, and then
they were weird, weren't they? They were like vampire money.
They were like genre ideas, weren't they? They were like we had like I think we may have had a gangster idea, and then there was like Blood Money, which was about a haunted piece of money. Yeah. A haunted note that.
But there was something quite interesting about it though, because the money, I think, the money brought out the darkness in people because it wanted to drink blood, so it made whoever had the money do dark stuff.
Yeah, I mean, now we're talking about it, it sounds like a good idea. We should have made that.
Damn it!
No, maybe next. That's like a roadblock though, isn't it? Because that's like making a script that you can't make, because we didn't have special effects, we didn't have even fake blood, all this stuff. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
And so in a way, we were just coming up with ideas that weren't realistic.
Yeah.
And then we kind of realized that, and
you started watching Duplass films.
I already kind of liked some. I liked like Dogma 95 and stuff, and then I found the Duplass brothers, and then I kind of realized that. And then the thing that clicked for me was write what you know, which people say. Yeah. But then people don't do it. They're like, yeah, write what I know. I'm gonna make a sci-fi epic where spaceships and it's like, really, do you know that? Yeah. And that was the thing that struck me about the Duplass style, was their stories were just about like nothing in a way. It was just about like the puffy chair. It's just like driving across to get a chair to go and see his dad. Like that's the story. Yeah. But really it's about like the relationship between him and his girlfriend falling apart. But that's kind of like a subtext underneath this really simple like story. Yeah. Anyway, that all clicked together, and then I just like churned out I like did the first bit of the script and sent it to you guys, and you guys loved it. And I was like, wow, this is actually working. And and it was only like, 60 pages or something.
Yeah, I remember reading it though, and I was like, man, it's great. You've got the conflict here, you've got the friendship here, because they say every scene should have at least a conflict. And I think even moments where there might not have been, because you trusted us enough, Timmy and I were able to add little nuances of conflict.
I think the thing was, I was just so lucky, and I knew that I had all the right pieces in place, which was the actors, I had the camera, I had the experience of sound and camera and editing. So we had everything we needed. Yeah. And like most people do, like it's not that hard to go and just learn how to edit and buy a cheap DSLR for like £100, you know, and a cheap recorder for like £100, and you spend a few £100 and you've got everything you need. I was so lucky because I knew you guys, and I knew that you guys knew other actors, and I just had like a pool of actors around me, and then it's just crazy how it fell together. Like we just, I remember at the beginning we always say like at one point, like we didn't even think it was going to be a feature. Yeah. Like maybe we'll get a short out of it. Maybe we'll
lucky.
We won't get anything out of it. Yeah, and then like after recording a couple of scenes, we were just like, wow, this is good. What?
I remember. I think we'd filmed like 4 things, and you brought me around to your house to show me some of the edit, and I was like, dude, that's like 28 minutes, and you're like, yeah, I know, and we still got all these pages to go. You're like, I think this could be a feature because the way that you filmed it as well, the scenes were like one takes, so it was almost like theatre meets film, and that was the way to get around the low budget. So rather than having 40 different setups for one scene, that would be too difficult to do in that time frame and with that amount of people, and continuity would have been a nightmare. Yeah, motorbikes in one, helicopter in another, airplane,
dog suddenly barking or whatever. So it really. Yeah, the style was really important to how we managed to make it. Definitely, like you have to go with a more minimal kind of cinematic style if you don't have any budget.
Some of the feedback that I heard from people that have seen it, which is great, is that's the camera feels like part of the character. That's what takes you on that journey. Because if it had the normal kind of Hollywood thing where the audience are here and the characters are here, as opposed to the way you did it, where you're right there. I mean, some of the positions that Dom was in was madness. He was like a contortionist to get some of the shots, because a lot of the spaces weren't designed for you, the equipment, the crew.
I call it cameraman yoga.
Yeah, cameraman yoga.
When you were sitting
behind the table
on my desk, and there was like that much room. Yeah. There was you sitting here, and then there's a wall. And I just really wanted that close-up shot of you in the foreground, and Jess in the background.
Yeah.
And I was literally like on my tiptoes, bent in a C shape, like.
But the shot looks great.
Yeah,
you know,
but, I mean,
the shot.
The funny thing is, seeing that in my peripheral vision as well, and it's one of the most serious scenes because some shit goes down in that scene, and there's you like a question mark, like a seashell question mark there, and right there, and yet we've got this kind of built tension scene happening here.
I guess, yeah.
But that again, though. You know, you didn't have a storyboard, so a lot of these choices you made was just being there on location, seeing what works. But for me, I think that told a better story as well.
Weirdly, I saw Kubrick shoots like that. He shot like that. He didn't know what the shot would be until he saw the location and the performance. It could take him like a day of just going through the scene over and over and thinking what would the right shot be, and then finally it clicked together for him. And he, you know, and I'm not saying like it was anything close to a Kubrick film, but it's just interesting seeing how many filmmakers actually use that technique.
Yeah.
Purposely, they don't want a storyboard. They don't want to be restricted by deciding stuff before the film's being made.
Yeah,
you know? And it kind of makes sense in a way.
Werner Herzog.
Werner storyboards are for the weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't agree with, but they can be useful, you know.
Yeah, some are, I think, are a blueprint or a guide for certain films, and obviously people out there that if you do storyboards, I think that gives you a good idea that you can show to your cinematographer or your team to give you a plan of where it's going. But I quite liked the freedom we had, because I remember there's one shot where Robin, you know, is having a bit of a breakdown in the field, and it was literally just you and me. And I remember thinking how much freedom there was, like not having a massive crew, because I've worked on films where you've got like 16 people that you as the director would have to run it by and say, right guys, everyone follow me, or get your own vehicles to this location. But we literally would walk to a place and go, right, it's just you, me, the situation, the little bits of props we need, trying to remember what the costumes were from the scene before, obviously for continuity. But I just remember how freeing that was as an actor, going, this is great, because it felt so real anyway.
That's another thing the Duplass brothers do, which we didn't do, but it was similar style, but they shoot everything in sequence. So the actors, the first time, and also they don't have no rehearsals together. So the first time the actors are saying the lines to each other is when the camera's rolling, which I thought was really interesting. And shooting everything in sequence, and I'm sure they don't have a big crew.
Do you think that's partly why you were able to achieve this feature in a certain amount of days, because the crew was so minimal?
I mean, like the method and style we chose was integral to like actually making a feature film.
Yeah.
If we went for like a traditional Hollywood thing, it wouldn't have been a feature film. It would have been like a short.
Yeah.
We just wouldn't have pulled it off, and we wouldn't have had the people because it was zero budget, so people wouldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't afford.
We
didn't pay them anyway.
We were lucky. We had Gerald doing the boom.
I think the passion that people had for it was that's something that I think kept me going. Was a real fuel for the project. How excited people were just to meet up and to get together and to make the scene work, and even a lot of the locations, the bar staff we met were so cool. They didn't ask for any money.
Yeah,
they're like, maybe get a few beers.
The funniest story for that was when we went to the bar in East Dulwich on Lordship Lane.
Yeah.
And I thought my mate worked there, and then we turned up. And he didn't work there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, we were gonna film. Can we film in your pub? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then remember that was for the second scene in the pub, and that was also why we ended up having to light it with candles.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because the lights didn't come on in the back.
Yeah, the back garden was.
They kept saying the lights gonna come on. The lights come, and I was like, no, they're not.
And we're running out of time. We're like, dude, when are these lights gonna come on?
So we put like 20 candles on the table.
It was all natural light to make this film as well, which I think helped out a lot. Rather than having to carry around lots of different lighting setup and equipment.
Again, it just wouldn't have happened.
And then the irony was, the one time you did use a light for the blue light, it got set on fire halfway through the thing, and we're like, we could see smoke. And we're like,
I just turned it on, I just turned it on, and immediately, it was the first time I'd ever used a light, and I got the gel, and I put it like right against the fucking lens of and then I just like turned it on and it just went
Yeah, it just
and
set on
fell
fire.
off and like soldered in, melted into my carpet. And that was still there the day I moved out of that place.
Sorry, landlord, sorry.
And that was the only time. And then there was one shot where we had to use a light, where we shot it at night.
Yeah, it was genius.
And
yeah,
I just
it looked
stuck
like
the
morning.
light through the window and it looks like the morning. And that was the only time. And that was like, we had to do that. There was no creative reason except it had to be morning and it was night. And that looked great. And
I think for me that's one of the best shots. I really like. That's the magic of film for me. That any viewer would just believe the circumstances that it is morning, even if in post you put a couple of bird sound effects or whatever, which you didn't need. I love stuff like that. Man.
The only other time I used a light. I tried to anyway. Was when we were getting, you guys are getting ready to go to the job, and just after the fish sticks moment.
Oh,
and I remember for a couple of shots, I had a light in the corner, and then it just ran out of batteries, and I was just like, I can't be worrying because I'm like directing and shooting it and worrying about the sound. Like I can't be messing about with lights as well. So I just left it.
Yeah.
But like we were saying earlier, like you just choose somewhere that has good light, or you position people so the light looks okay. Because luckily in your like living room space, you had one window like at the back, and then you had the light coming from the door. So you had like 3-dimensional lighting. It's really just about using what you've got in that situation and just turning on the lights in the room, see if they help. No, they don't help. Turn them off. Yeah, that looks better. Like it's sort of like a bit of trial and error. And the position we were in was the only reason we could make it was because we had those contacts and time on our hands. And I was just about to start my MA as well, wasn't I? So I was like, the clock was ticking, and we were like, if we don't do it now, it's not going to get done for a year. And we've already been talking about it for like at least a year. We were bouncing ideas around, and lots of the ideas for the script were from real events. Like lots of it is based on true events. Like the whole train scene with Daisy, that was based on a girl who I liked in the supermarket and then I saw her on the train. We had this really awkward, like kind of, it wasn't as awkward as that actually. It was actually quite nice. But then obviously, that's why I wouldn't say it's like based on true events or it's like me. Obviously it's based on that, but...
Well, elements, isn't it? Yeah.
I really obviously changed it a lot for dramatic effect. And obviously you guys like changed so much in the performance that isn't in the script. Like
no, I remember seeing... reading the script going, oh, wait, the dialogue has changed quite a bit, which must have been fun in the edit for you as well, because you're like, hang on, I can't actually go off the script as much now because...
No, I mean, the script, weirdly, the script, I mean, it's one of those things, an editor will be like, can I see the script? Because the editor wants to see, like how it's meant to be coming out. But in that situation, it was just like, it's not really going to help you that much because it's completely like it's really different.
Because there's elements that have changed so much.
You can't look at it and be like, oh, I'll cut after they say that line because that line isn't in there anymore. Because there was a lot of improvisation and from you guys, which made it what it was.
So many films nowadays because they're all written with such structured points that people know each beat of a film, so they know where it's going. They can see the twist. They can see all the different things happening. But that's what I think people really got and enjoyed about Polar is that it's unpredictable.
I mean, I really hate that. Like when I did my MA and they were like, oh, you have to know what genre you're writing in, and choose the genre and then all the tropes and I was like, but isn't that defeating the whole point of creativity? If I went, oh, it's a drama comedy, I'll look up what a drama comedy is supposed to be. Oh, I need 3 acts, I need this, I need that, and it's like, meh, then it's going to be boring and predictable and and like every other film like that. I think like the best thing to do is to forget about all of that and just see what feels right, and what you can relate to and
tell the
and
story
what you know, because that will come out really realistic and engaging because it's real. But I just realized there is conflict in every single scene in Polar. I just realized right from the first scene, you guys are arguing. You're irritating him. And he's trying to get information from you and you don't want to talk about it. And
he's literally dancing around it. Steve.
Well, man, where have you been, man? Come on, man.
Steve.
Shut the fuck up, man, please. I'm trying to fucking ask you a question. You're singing in my fucking
Oh,
face.
you get angry
5
sometimes.
fucking minutes, mate.
You're like the Incredible Hulk, lit off, boom.
It's funny because there's elements of there's wonderful subliminal catalysts as well. Because I was chatting to Timmy about it the other day, and I was saying that if I never got him high and drunk at that in the introduction bit where he misses all those phone calls from his partner. Then when he turns up to drop him off, and bearing in mind she hasn't seen him for years, and the next thing he does is drop off her
Or
fiance.
a year at least.
Yeah, drops off her fiance, and he's completely off his
Yeah.
tits. And you know they've got work
You
the
always
next day.
do that to him.
Yeah, exactly. Like it tells you a lot about Robin's character.
That's amazing.
But you know he means well. They just wanted to have a good time, and they got a bit carried away. But that for me is what puts the thorn in Jenny's side, and that's why later on she decides to do what she does. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Without I don't want to give away any spoilers.
It's laid
So
a seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that's the plant and payoff to a certain place.
Yeah. I mean, that's the story, isn't it? That he's not looking at the signs, that he's kind of got unhealthy friendships, and he's trying to like have sex with girls he's obviously not 100% sure about, and you know, and it's all kind of like this desperation, scrabbling to like keep his life together or something.
And following rules as well, because it feels like Steve gives him this metaphorical book of this is how you live a life, and it's like, well, actually, no, it's not. Living a life is letting something happen organically, and that's what his character does after a certain point. He's like, actually, I've got no control over this.
Yeah.
So I've got to make the right choices, and maybe cutting out certain people in my life is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
What kind of hints or tips could you share with people that they're just going around in circles and wanting to make something? What's the best?
Well, you know, it's like that. It's like that Branson book. Like, screw it, just do it. Like, just fucking do it. Just go out and start making films, and they'll probably be terrible. And just like be humble and realize that they're not good, and there's mistakes, and you know, and like just rectify that. And it's not hard. Like, you know, like I was saying, you just need like £300, you could probably get everything you need. You just need a boom mic, a recorder, a camera, and like some kind of mount or tripod for the camera, and you know, maybe one light. You know, these lights are like £20 on eBay.
These ones we're using right here, guys.
These red heads, they're about £20. And sure, like some of them break, and then I just like learned how to repair them, and I repair them.
But I guess natural light is a great way to, because if you make a film primarily
that's what I'm saying.
natural
You only
light,
need one light, and then you don't always need to use it, but it's just good to have a light, you know, because there are moments like when we had to make Night for Day.
The breakfast.
We couldn't have done that
morning.
without the light that I had. So, but yeah, it's just generally just make films. Yeah, I mean,
and just learn, I guess, on the job. And
the short film that I did before that was kind of which was about like supernatural, like the guy kind of.
Oh yeah, he has a premonition, doesn't he, on the train?
Premonition, yeah. And,
yeah.
I mean, in a way, that was difficult. Everything I do involves like trying to get shots on trains with no permission.
Yeah,
and there's all this public around watching you, and they're like, and it makes it so much more awkward. But it also adds that like guerrilla element, and you just get like these really raw, real like moments because it is raw and real. You know?
And at any point, a ticket inspector might come on and be like, "Hey,
what the hell are you doing? Like, get off! Do you have a permit?"
Doing a modelling shoot.
You just got to do it, really. And just learn from your mistakes. I think, but then that's just life. Like I just constantly, it's trial and error. And
but that's the best thing. You'll only
DIY.
get better from mistakes. You can't learn from successes.
No, I mean you can learn from everything, but mistakes you learn more. I think. I mean, you get bigger lessons, like if the sound isn't good, that's such a major part of a film. And obviously, even with Polar, the sound is probably one of the weaker elements. And next time, I'm going to definitely mic people up with lapel mics. So,
You know. We use these, though, to record the opening scene, because we did originally do it with a mic in a bag.
Complicated. Yeah, that first scene was really hard to get the sound. And normally that first opening shot where you're miles away talking, you would ADR all of that, but I kind of like didn't want to do any ADR because I wanted the real feel. So we tried to reshoot that, because the first time we did it, we had one mic on your rucksack in between you guys and the recorder in the rucksack, and then the mic fell off, and was dangling, and the first edit, we kept that sound. That audio was in there.
I know, in the screening as well.
You could still hear.
You could hear like
guys.
bags
And it was
rustle,
like,
shoes.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, man. And you could just hear this like mic swinging around.
Yeah,
and,
hitting the back of my leg, bonk. Yeah.
You know, and it still worked like crazy.
real, man. It's
still
brutally real.
Got it.
Yeah.
But it was always like it was always a big problem because that is the opening shot, so you need that to be good.
Yeah.
So and then we went back and we tried again with some the cheapest wireless mics you could get, and it just didn't work. And then I got more expensive wireless mics, and we went back, and then we tried it again, and I think this was Saramonic, and it still didn't work. And then I got Sennheisers, and we went back, and it still didn't work because I had the receivers on me, and you guys were so far away. And then I realized it's just not going to work. So I just put the recorder in the rucksack, and then that was like the simple way around it. And the really stupid thing is that meant that I didn't need wireless mics because the recorder was there. So in theory, you could have both had a mini recorder on you guys and then just synced it all up afterwards. But anyway, I needed the mic, so it was good getting them. But I mean, that was another like making it complicated when the simplest solution was actually the one that was going to work.
What were the scenes that you thought were going to be super easy in your head that were more complicated? And then on the flip side, what about ones that you thought were going to be really complicated ended up being more simple?
I don't know, like I think all of it could be complicated. It's impossible to tell with filmmaking, but it's, you know.
No, but I meant for you. So you might be like, oh well, this is an easy scene. We'll bang this out, and then you're like, oh, actually, this
But you never know. That's what I'm saying. It's totally unpredictable. So you could go and you think it's going to be a simple scene, and then you've got a fucking roadworks or something.
Right? Yeah,
and
yeah. That's
suddenly
true.
it's
That's
all-
true.
I mean, like the taxi bit. You know, the taxi where you pull up in the taxi. We did that like 10 times because I really wanted to kind of like have the taxi pull up and then come in through the window. I had this whole like idea of how I wanted it to work, and it wasn't working, and we had to. I mean, that was an example where you could have thought, oh, that'd be easy, and
Yeah, that's true.
It was like, no, it wasn't that easy. We had to. Poor guy.
We didn't even have Sean, my next door neighbour.
Yes, his next door neighbour. Yeah.
We didn't even have a taxi driver, and we're like, oh, we got that taxi scene now. And then I knocked on my next door neighbour's house, and he was kind enough to give us his time and his car. But that's a great little scene. And then do you remember I made that thing because Timmy kept saying, "Oh, you can't have a licensed car without this circular thing that's on the windscreen."
I mean, that does add an
It
extra
really
bit
does
of,
add. It's amazing. You'd never tell.
I mean, those were like the only props. It was just sick and some beers and
Beers.
it was like no props, no lights, no storyboard. Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have anything, but we just had people.
Bare bones, man.
We had
Bare
people.
bones.
I mean, you know, without you and the contacts you had, it wouldn't have happened. Like, because the way Tom fell into that situation, the guy that did the music, I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, Tom Hector's amazing.
That was crazy because I was like, we could do some music, and then you just happened to. He's like quite good friends with
well,
you
we
as well.
worked together. I was helping him out on one of his music videos, I think.
And then it turned out that he really liked mumblecore, and he really got that genre.
amazing.
His music was just ideal. So I mean, there was so many elements where it was just like, I couldn't believe it was coming together so easily. Like,
yeah, and then I love the fact that in a weird way, I left this sounds really random, but I left my sunglasses in the living room for the party scene. And because you gave them license to play, and like they're having a rave and a party, some of the guys just started grabbing the sunglasses, and it kind of really worked for that kind of, we're cool, we're off work, we're
It really
edgy,
worked for the
and doing breakdancing.
Jamie, because he's like a cokehead and like,
Yeah.
tend to wear sunglasses because their eyes are all fucked up.
Yeah, that's true. And even his choice to do little sips and the way that you shot him above Robin, like he's looking down on him. There's a lot of kind of subliminal.
Yeah. I didn't even like that's another thing where I gave him very little direction and he just did it perfectly. Like the best bit's when you're going up the stairs and he's literally like he's just looking like up like this. And it's like, that's such a druggy thing to do. Just being like rushing like on his own, just like. And you just see him as he's coming up, like, who's this guy with sunglasses, just like...
You're like, oh no, it's going to be trouble in this room.
I mean, that was the hardest scene by far, and I was terrified, because suddenly I had, over 10
it was really
actors,
scary.
Or whatever, or about 10, and we didn't have that much time. We had until like 12 or 1.
It was like I think it was till 1.
We've got to be out of here by this time.
Yeah. It was
and
quite,
I remember
it was quite
I was
stressful.
Like, and I remember I just thought it wasn't going to happen because we were like, it's 11 o'clock and we're meant to finish at 12 and we haven't shot anything.
Yeah,
okay,
we
let's just start.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like the first take just worked. It was crazy, like that long 7-minute take of coming in and following you.
Yeah, it's mad because I remember
it kind of
genuinely
came out.
feeling a bit anxious because I remember when I'm outside drinking a few cans of beer and you literally shout action, and then I was thinking in my head like in 11 minutes time that's when I can go like. So it's like, and you're just following me all around the house, and there's so many things that could go wrong or get in the way, and
you have to really work around those technical problems.
Yeah.
Like, don't get hung up on them, but just work with what you have. Yeah, and if something's not working, just change it.
Yeah.
Just do it differently. Like, just because it says it on a piece of paper doesn't mean that's. And most of the time, it comes out better when you kind of forced to do stuff like
Well,
that.
because I mean, the original improv, I was trying to build up to trying to find a real way of breaking into a song rather than just breaking in because you've said action.
Yeah.
So I was trying to come up with this weird improvisation that he's like performing. He's this performing monkey in front of people because he's anxious.
I mean, that whole moment was just so good. Like, on the day, I remember I was just like in shock. Everyone was in actual shock.
Timmy's like,
Yeah, all of us
it
were kind
was-
of like, fuck, like, I don't know how to react.
yeah, that was.
I mean, that was like the flies being thrown in your face, and then you're picking them all up.
Oh, yeah.
That was, and I left in the sound of me like laughing.
Yeah.
Not laughing, but going.
Yeah,
That is still in there, but it
There's
doesn't.
there's little
It's
Easter
an
eggs.
Easter egg. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
sound like anything because it could be anything.
It could be a car. Like,
yeah.
like
But I
breaking,
know
right?
it's me going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't stop. And then I was like,
But I think you're right. I think it is funnier because that's the moment where he actually looks like a squirrel.
Yeah, he turned it. The transformation's complete.
The funny thing is though, that's when a lot of dark stuff happens for Robin when he takes on the form of the squirrel.
I mean, that's, the conflict kind of. Well, I mean, immediately, the kind of after you've handed out the flyers, it just goes straight into the fight scene. So it's like the
Spoiler alert. Spoiler
as soon as you, spoiler. But as soon as you put that suit on, it's all. It amps up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, you've got to walk all the way into like.
And guys, actually, sorry to interrupt you there. We actually did the full walk that Robin does. So on one day, the hottest day of the summer, this guy's in a shorts and a t-shirt, sweating on a bus, saying, "God, I'm hot." And he looks across, and I'm dressed in a squirrel onesie.
I think you said like, "Shut up! I'm gonna hit you! I'm gonna hit you!"
How do you think I feel, man?
I was like,
And then-
"Isn't it hot? I'm so hot." Oh, sorry. Fuck! You're in a.
and it doesn't help that I'm
You're
hot.
already covered in hair.
I'm a
naturally.
hairy dude as it is, man. I'm like, I'm half wolf. Robin is an unusual name, so it kind of has its own energy to it. It doesn't feel like a grounded, like, hi Bob, hi Steve, hi George. Like, they feel very grounded names, whereas Robin just feels could be a bit kind of...
I don't know, man. No, it just kind of like the name Polar. I just knew that was the name of it. For me, that's important, like knowing the name, because that is such an important element, and that it kind of like defined a lot of, it just means everyone's on the same page as well, because they get like, okay, this is about a kind of conflicts. I mean, polar is polarization.
It's the opposites of
And
things.
you and Steve are kind of like, or, Timmy are like, not polar opposites, but you have very conflicting
ideas,
outlooks on life at some points,
yeah.
And I haven't mentioned that we heavily like changed and wrote scenes and removed scenes whilst we were filming, and there was times where we shot whole scenes and then I just axed them from the film because they didn't work.
Didn't fit in, yeah.
The car scene, we tried to shoot that about 3 times, didn't we? And and the first scene, if you remember, we did that whole one where you're walking past the fence.
Yeah.
And that was funny because I was walking backwards and like had you guys, and then there was this shadow from the fence was cutting across you guys' faces.
Yeah, like barcodes, yeah.
And also I had to put the shutter speed up really high because it was so bright. And so everything was too crisp and didn't have motion blur.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just made me feel sick. It's like, what? I'm walking backwards, so it's all shaky, there's all this light, and it just didn't work. And as we already said, we had to then go back and reshoot that first scene like 3 times to get the sound with the wireless mics. So really, that first scene, we did it about 4 times. We tried to get it right.
Yeah.
And the car scene, we did about 3 times to get it
Yeah.
right. And then it finally
And the
just
fish
clicked.
sticks as well, I think.
Oh my God, we
did a
didn't even
lot
talk about that.
Yeah, we did a lot of...
We did the fish sticks, and you had your wedding
Yeah, I had
ring.
my wedding ring on.
And obviously your hands are right in the middle of the shot. And that fucking take is so good. I still miss it.
We might pay for CGI to remove the
I
wedding ring.
still watch fish sticks, and I miss the chemistry in that earlier take is just so good. And then I even asked my friend who works in
CGI.
In animation, and he was like, just reshoot it. That's going to be so complicated to like comp out. Like it's not even on a tripod. It's like a shaky shot, and you guys are flailing around. And I was just like, shit. And then when we reshot it, I remember we did about 20 takes. We were literally like, shit, take 18.
Yeah.
And we were all getting like really moody at each other, like, you're putting me off, fucking hell.
Yeah.
And I'm still not happy with it. I still want to go back and edit it a bit.
Like you're saying, it was the first time. We didn't really rehearse that necessarily. You just kind of got the ball rolling and had the camera, and it was like, and we said once you do it more than once, it's very hard to recreate the spontaneity.
I mean, that's like just like we were saying about the party scene, and no one knew what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And that first time you did it was so good. And I remember we did it again.
Yeah, second one.
And it just didn't work. And I used tiny clips of that take in there to fix some problems. But apart from that, I didn't put any of the actual performance in or anything, because everyone's reactions were real. All of us were just like, even me, I was just like, what's going to happen now? Oh my God!
Yeah.
So yeah, having that rawness is so hard to recreate, man. Like, and that's like documentary. Like, I did a course on documentary, and they said like, don't start talking to them before you've started rolling. So that's why a lot of these massive Hollywood films, like, you've got top quality actors, and they're just doing these terrible performances because, like, they've done it 25 times. There's 600 people around them. They're probably talking to a green wall. In this day and age, there's not even an actor.
green tennis ball.
They're talking to. There's just like a stick. And it's just like, oh, I meant to show emotion to this stick. How arguing, and it's just like.
But that I was going to say, actually, just change subject real quick. But I think that's why Joker, we were saying, is really popular and really successful at the moment, because Joaquin Phoenix. There's a few interviews where they said Todd Phillips and him talked about something. He never knew what he was going to do, so it was all spontaneous. He said it had to be spontaneous because of the nature of the character.
Yeah.
But also, he says if he was doing a scene with the mum character, all the other characters, no one knew what he was going to do, and nothing was rehearsed. So he was dancing around what Joaquin Phoenix was doing, and I think that's why that film feels so fun to watch.
I mean, it's interesting because actually, that is going back to how films used to be shot. Because if you had film, you couldn't do 25 takes. Film is very expensive, like actual analog film. And I remember seeing a cinematographer or somebody talking about how they had actors who loved working with film because the pressure is on, and they have to do a good performance. You have to, because you only got 3 times to do it. They're not going to do 25 takes because that's like thousands of pounds of film. So it's funny, it's like trying to go back to kind of how it was, and you get better performances because you got the pressure,
Well, there was that famous thing about Marlon Brando, though, on the waterfront. So because, like you're saying, it's done on film, the girl dropped her glove, and she was thinking, oh shit, like they're gonna have to recut. Then Marlon Brando just picks up the glove and starts touching it and puts it on at one point, and then takes it off and then gives it back to her. And anyone watching that doesn't necessarily know that little element there, they think, oh, it's part of the scene. And she couldn't believe he carried on doing it. And the director loved that moment because, like you're saying, it's not planned.
It's more realistic.
It's so organic.
It's more realistic in a way. Like, he's reacting, because there's a random element which is real, and he's reacting to it how he thought the character would react to it.
And turning it into something.
That's making it more realistic. I mean, the worst thing you can have is like 2 another actor comes in the room, they have a conversation, then that actor leaves, and then that other person goes back to what they're doing or something. Like that is not a scene. That's boring.
Yeah,
But if that character comes into the room and like hits their leg on the thing that the person's working on, and they get pissed off, and then it brings something up, like some tension they've already had, and then they end up leaving on a mutual, like, you know, that's already added something to that scene.
Or if he knocks into it and say he's got tea and he spills it over this letter that was important, now him entering that space has actually changed.
Made a story.
Yeah, because now he's got to rewrite that now.
And that other person's going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll come to a conclusion at the end and he'll leave, you know, and I don't know.
Or maybe the guy feels bad and writes a better letter and says, look, I'm sorry, I messed up your letter, here's this one. You're like, oh, and that's them coming together.
It's made a story, it's made conflict.
Full circle.
Maybe that wasn't planned. Maybe it was meant to be a boring scene, but that actor came in and literally did in real life trip over.
Yeah.
But because they're pros, they just carried on. Like, you just don't cut. Like, just keep going and see what you get.
Well, what was fun as well was doing, like I say, like drunk acting or being high acting, and that was a lot of fun, because what's really funny is I remember when we were doing the party scene, and a couple of the actors took me to one side and said, Drew, I think you should stop drinking now, mate.
Well, you pulled off being drunk really well, because drunk acting is something that a lot
it can be really cringe.
A lot of actors can't do, or stumble, or it's just not working. But I don't know. I think like a lot of it, you were a bit drunk. I mean, you know, when you were meant to be drunk, like the party scene, I said everyone have a drink. Remember?
No, but that's what I mean. I wasn't drunk.
Like,
we'd have a few
like
beers.
Push
like everyone
people
had a
just
few.
so they're like in that mood.
Yeah, that was a nice
bit.
Yeah,
like have one beer. You know, like
yeah.
That's what I
I'm not
said.
drunk after one beer.
No, that's what I said. I remember I was like, everyone have a drink, but just have one. I'm gonna drink like 5.
Yeah. That's where all the budget went, though, wasn't it?
It was me drinking. I mean, that was funny because I realised at one point you're meant to be an alcoholic, and we had no shots of Drew drinking a beer. Because I kept drinking them all.
You kept cracking them open, then you take away and drinking them.
Like, let's do that shot again. Yeah. Oh, fuck, we don't have any beer. And then, so we had to go and get that scene where you're getting fucked up on your own in the blue light, and you're drinking and listening to Smoke a Biff.
I
we did that late because I was like, you're meant to be an alcoholic, dude. And we don't have any shots of you drinking. Like, there's loads of you smoking, but you're meant to be a fuck up. So that scene actually works really well.
I really like that scene. That's one of my favourite scenes.
It's just such a little bit. But it's just you listening to that film.
That cartoon is really powerful.
That was another thing.
Not cartoon, the black and white.
That was insane. That was yet another thing where we didn't plan it at all. And we ended up with that black and white film with her going, you should look after yourself better. You're staying up too late. And he's like, oh, don't fast, man.
You're going to make yourself ill working night after night without rest. Why don't you go to bed? I'll have Celia bring you breakfast and then you can sleep till
I'm fine. Now stop worrying about me.
And then all the stuff shot in Robin's room was where I was living.
That was actually
a complete tip. But it worked so well for that location was great. Like
the claustrophobic element really worked.
It was very claustrophobic. It was run down, and we had that lovely little garden for the fight scene. You know, and we had lots of people watching that.
Oh my god, we had the Polish builders.
That was great, where I was just like filming, and then I kind of panned up a bit. And there's like a row of Polish builders like on a roof going, hey, all right.
But it was like Street Fighter. And then we made the lighter. We made the lighter with Tipex.
Another thing that worked better. I bought special Daisy lighters, and then some dickhead in my house stole my post. So I didn't have the prop, so we just went and bought a lighter, and you did it, and you painted a daisy on it, and that worked so much better because she's an artist. Obviously, she would do that. She would paint it. She wouldn't buy a lighter that says daisy on it. You just paint something creative. So again, it just worked so much better that
it's symbolic as well.
Lost that prop, and had to make our own prop.
Someone's got 4 daisy lighters somewhere. Whoever you are.
Yeah, you bastard. I mean, there's so many funny little stories. I mean, there was like when we went to shoot in central London and we had that Sunday of Pain, they called it. And that was like the only day where we had lots of scenes in one day. Most of the time we'd go aim for 1 scene a day, which really worked and took the pressure off of everyone, and we got really good performances. And then that day where we put the pressure on and it was really difficult, and Timmy turned up and he didn't have the right trousers. He had these really big baggy trousers. So immediately I was like, okay, so I can't have any shots of Timmy's whole body.
That was really clever.
Why you turn up And I was like, right, you need to have a shit, so you go off.
Yeah.
And you can go running, because I would have probably shot you guys both walking along.
Yeah, yeah.
And I couldn't show his lower body. So
But again, that was the universe, like you're saying, it helps
works better, yeah.
direct the movie though, because for me, I love
more
that
funny.
shot where he has to go off to take a shit or whatever, then you just pan across so his trousers aren't seen, and then you follow my character, and I look like I'm lost. 1 minute I'm big in the screen,
Yeah.
and as soon as we get to the other side of the road, I'm as small as like a packet of crisps almost, and it shows that this world is too much for Robin, and he gets lost on this magical mystery tour of trying to find a coffee.
Yeah, I'm glad that we made a film that was about addiction, because there's not enough films about that topic. And it's everyone is like, it's like acceptable to be addicted to stuff. You know, it's like people join in. It's like, yeah, going for a beer after work. Yeah. Like, didn't you do that yesterday and the day before and the day before? Like, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah. But that's what's nice. You didn't glorify it. That's what, again, some of the feedback has been the way that you tackle that subject is done in a very kind of delicate and humane and human way.
Yeah, I mean, it's more realistic, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's not all buddy, ha.
For 5 minutes into the film, and one of the main characters is literally like vomiting in the street, like, you know.
I think that tells you that they've
had a bit too much.
Gilded the lily or whatever it's called.
It's real, man.
I tell you what we were really lucky about though was when I was dressed as a squirrel and I'm on the underground and nobody's looking at me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We are so lucky, and that bit for me is it's almost a surreal moment, and you you can see that Robin's sticking out like a sore thumb, but the irony is he's still invisible.
No one cares. It was just interesting the way, because you do take on you do go through a metamorphosis in the story, and you come out as a squirrel.
yeah.
And that was really interesting when we looked up, what does a squirrel symbolize? And it symbolizes like productivity, like
planning,
goals, like being full of energy, and all those things that you kind of are trying to transcend into being, from being this kind of loser, loner, alcoholic. Yeah. And then you end up going and talking to the girl that you fancy.
And that's the thing of he's never confident, and the irony is when he's dressed as a squirrel, he's his most confident.
You suddenly out of your more you walk into central London.
You
do the job, and then you have a fight, and suddenly all of the conflict comes to a conclusion. In a way. I was just thinking another interesting thing was trying to get permission to shoot in Sainsbury's in Forest Hill, and I really wanted a shot of Robin coming up, following him into the supermarket, and then seeing Daisy at the till, and she looks up and just smiles at you, and we just see you smile at her, and it cuts.
Yeah.
That was in my mind.
That was the original ending, yeah.
Then we ended up not shooting it, and you just get in the lift and go up, and everyone thought you kill yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we can't have that.
That's not a happy ending.
And then we were trying to contact Sainsbury's and talking to them.
Mate, it took us 8 months.
And they were saying, no. And we were like, we'll just do it in the lift. And they're like, no.
And they're like, health and safety.
And they just came up with all these excuses.
And you're like, oh,
I even knew someone who worked there, and he was no help. And then you came up with the idea, and you were like, why don't you just shoot through the window? And I was just like, Drew, like, you're a genius. What? Why didn't we think of that? And so I didn't break any laws. I was standing on the pavement, and they had this huge glass window, like most supermarkets do. And I just shot through, and I was like, this looks like I'm in the supermarket. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And you just came in, walked around, and walked off. And obviously a bit embarrassing for you to be walking around in the supermarket like that.
Yeah.
And we got the shot, and it really worked, And then I just thought, you guys can meet outside. So even, again, working around that problem made that whole scene better.
The women are really strong characters. They're not just crying and pouring wine.
Oh, man.
They're very real.
Yeah.
And they've got great dialogue, and they're strong.
I hate like the trope that like women are kind of, what do they say? Like women never have a conversation without it involving a man.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I know like none of the women were like super major important, like they are important, but they weren't main characters, but all of them were just very strong characters, and they're independent, and they're making decisions that aren't based around your actions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're going off and doing their own thing, and I mean, like Daisy tells you about the job, and she says it's nice to have a simple job, and you're like, I never thought about it like that, and it's like they're guiding you more than the other way around, Hopefully it'll just make people want to see the film.
Zero budget. We literally had nothing.
Yeah.
We're not saying normally zero budget means 10 grand.
I know. Yeah.
This is literally zero.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
should be called minus budget.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out if you want to see a very low budget film dealing with mental health and
Yeah.
you know, substance abuse, and it's a comedy, and it's a Dogma 95 mumblecore, you know, fly on the wall style. Check it out. And
Yeah, man.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
High five.
Sweet.